In the previous exercise, we added reactions to the autoclave. In this exercise, we'll solve the project and have a look at some information that the reactions give us, and also if we have any problems. So if I solve the project, I click on the Solve button. Project has been solved, and now you can see our autoclave is red, and up here we have 4 errors. So if I click on the 4, I'll get my messages window, and under conditions I have these 4 conditions. So you can see that it's telling me that the autoclave reactions 1 through to 4 have all got a problem that the extent is not achieved. If I right click on any one of these messages, I can go say access the autoclave or find the unit. And this is really useful if you've got a big project and you've got many flow sheets to go and find the unit that's causing your problem. So if I click on find, it takes me to the unit that's causing an issue, which in our case is the autoclave. So if I right click on the autoclave, and I go to the first page, you'll see there my conditions where it's telling me that the extents are not achieved for those 4 reactions. If I go to the R1 page, you'll see here for the nickel oxide, I've asked for an extent of 95%, and you can see my extent achieved is 0. So I have an extent error of minus 95%. When you get errors like this, with extent not achieved, 99% of the time, this will be caused by a lack of reagent. So this is the first thing to check. Check your streams going out of your unit to see which of your reagents doesn't exist at all. And that's probably the reagent that's starved. In our case, we know that it's because we have no sulfuric acid. When we set up our feeders, we set our sulfuric acid feeder to have 0 tons an hour. So of course we have no sulfuric acid, so our reactions can't proceed at all. But another error that could cause a problem is when you write the reaction if you've used the incorrect species extent type. Now you see here, extent description, fraction extent, you've used nickel oxide. If you possibly made a mistake and used the sulfuric acid as your extent species, then you have to go back into a reaction editor and change that. One other thing to do is you possibly have written a reaction and it's not really important if you achieve the full extent that you've asked for, in which case you don't want to receive these error messages. What you can do is you can change the extent type. Here you'll see our extent type is strict. If I click on the arrow, I'm going to change that extent type to target. And what this says is I'd like to get an extent of 95%, but if it doesn't achieve that, I don't want to get a warning. And let's have a look what that does. So if I push solve again, so I click on the solve, you'll now see I only have 3 error messages. If I click on the messages window, now only reactions 2, 3, and 4 are complaining. So reaction 1, where I changed the extent type to target, is no longer complaining. But in our case, we do want it to be strict. We want to get an error message if we don't receive the extent that we've asked for. What information does the reaction block give us? We'll just quickly have a look at some of the basic information. So, as we've seen, it tells us what extent achieved that you actually get after you've solved, the error, and here it will also tell you the mass transfer of the extent species. So in this case, obviously we've got 0 kilograms per hour has been reacted of the nickel oxide because we had no sulfuric acid. It gives us the heat of reaction at the reaction pressure and at 0 degrees Celsius, which is where SysCAD does its work for the reactions. If I click on the All Fields button, so I click the All Fields, you'll see there is some extra information that's normally hidden. So we can see the moles of nickel oxide that have been reacted, and we can also see the heat of reaction as a molar, kilojoules per kilomole, and the heat gain from this reaction in kilowatts. So All Fields gives us more information, in addition to which on the first page for your reaction, on the RB page, we've got this display extra information, these fields here, and if I go and I can change those from basic information only, I can show more information for energy, for different temperatures and pressures. And if I click on the SP change info, and that's for species change, I can show how much of each species in every reaction has reacted or been produced in mass or molar terms or both. So there's a lot of information that's available on your reaction page.